Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like everybody here and so many people in the state, I miss Ken Gordon. You can't go through and do a review of his time here and his impact on the state without realizing he must have mentored literally thousands of people, both in the building, in the community, students, young people, activists, with a deep and abiding sense of civic engagement. I really think the numbers go beyond count. Ken Gordon was a legend, really, long before I had come to this building or had even thought about running for office. And he had come to really represent a lot, I think, of what is noble and honorable about public service. The loss of Ken Gordon is a deep hole in the Senate. His legacy will continue, hopefully, if we do our charge through each of us, not only in the Senate and the House. I want to thank Betty, you, and Ken's family for sharing Ken Gordon with the state of Colorado. We are all better for Ken and his service. And if we can take anything away from today, it is he would ask us to be all just a little bit better on public policy, on process, and what we can do to open the doors to the public a little bit wider to make sure that this really is the people's house for the people of Colorado. Ken Gordon, to me, represents the idea of tikkun olam, or really healing or helping the world. Really first encountered him in his legal advocacy context, and you come in realizing that many times lawyers really are the butt of attorney jokes. But people like Ken Gordon, along with some others, choose law because it is how you advocate for people's rights. And if you believe in the Constitution, and if you believe in people's rights and the rule of law, you realize that one of the ways you can live that belief, and I believe that this is how Ken Gordon started his life even before elected office, the type of law he did was about making sure that the little guy was able to enforce their rights, whether that be against large government actors or government wrongdoing, large corporate actors, but it was really about making sure the little guy fundamentally always had a shake. And he continued every day that I served with him in here on almost every bill and every process with a filter of how do you make sure that the little guy and gal, your average person, how do you level the playing field? And how do you actually protect and enhance people's rights? I would just add that from a mentorship perspective, Ken Gordon was an incredible mentor, like to so many of us, for me as well. And one of the lessons I think that I learned from Ken is really that it is okay to be different. We come into this institution with an idea of how things have always been done. They've always been done this way, they can't be done differently. First, starting back in the House, it was a bit of a kerfuff to have a different policy as far as how, at the time I was dealing with lobbyists and not leaving the floor during debate or vote. And there's a certain stigma that one acquires when you do things differently and you come into long, deep, standing, abiding traditions. But how Ken was willing to rethink anything and willing to rethink everything through a filter of just because we've done it this way doesn't mean it's the best way, it doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. And he was willing to stand out, to be different, to try things differently. And for those of us who had the privilege of serving with him, I think every day on his time here was a compass to a question of what can I do today to help improve people's lives? And what is within my control today to help improve public policy and the process for the people of Colorado? And he really ennobles the idea of public service to realize that if all of us leave today with a renewed commitment to be the best version of who we can be as lawmakers, as policymakers, and to make sure that we make this process work for the people of Colorado, we are all better off. All of us, and the state of Colorado, and the world is better off for having the privilege of knowing Ken Gordon.